Hello Year 3 and welcome back to your writing lesson. Now, first things first, as always, I have your do now ready for you. So I'm just going to share my screen and go through that with you. So what I have done is given you a list of root words. So remember, those are the building blocks of our words, and then given you an option of different suffixes. Now, only some of them will go with the root word. So pause the screen now and go through your do now, where you will circle the correct suffixes that go with that root word. I'm going to go through the answer straight away, so make sure you have paused and I will be here to go through the answers with you. Okay, so the answers I have circled here. So again, pause the video, but I will also go through them with you so you can hear what these words sound like. So cheer, you would have cheerful, to be full of cheer. Peaceful, again, to be full of peace. Astonishment. Kindly, so we have an adverb of manner there, and kindness. There isn't any such word as kindful. You could have shortest and shortly, but not shorting. You could have calmer, meaning I am calmer than you, or calmly, so again another adverb of manner. You could have blameless, youngest, coldly and colder, finally. Okay, so again, pause the video so you can see where the answers are, and I will go through today's lesson. So what I have here is my first sentence, but there is something not quite right with it. So I will read it out. I walked to school. It was raining. I didn't have my umbrella. I got completely drenched. Take a moment now and think about how that sounds. I walked to school. It was raining. I didn't have my umbrella. I got completely drenched. Makes sense. Everything's in order. I've got my capital letters and my full stops. It's got nothing to do with punctuation or spelling, but the way it sounds doesn't sound quite right. Can you think of maybe why that is? Okay, so if I was to read this piece of text, I would say it's very stilted. The sentences are very short and they don't really flow together. I walked to school. It was raining. I didn't have my umbrella. I got completely drenched. It sounds like a list of sentences rather than a whole text. How about now? I walked to school. However, it was raining. I didn't have my umbrella, so unfortunately I got completely drenched. Already as a reader, I can tell that flows so much better because I've added those two words in, however and so. They have linked up those sentences that sounded really short and separate to make one longer sentence that sounds more detailed and also flows a lot better. Now, I wonder if you can remember what those words are called, words that link sentences or phrases or clauses together. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully you said the word conjunction. So these are words which connect clauses or sentences together. And like I said before, they add more detail into a sentence and they let our writing flow rather than it sounding like a boring list. So here I've got some examples of conjunctions that you could use, and I know that you do use in your writing without even having us telling you to. So we have after, although, and, because, so, until, if, as well as, then, however, while, unless. Now, those are just a very small selection of all the different conjunctions that you could be using. So if you want, you can take a moment now to copy some of these down, or you could even add some more to the list if you would like. But as always, I'm going to continue, so just press play when you are ready. So I am going to model to you how I would use conjunctions to join sentences together. So you can see I have 3 sentences there. There is a blank space in each, and that blank space is for my conjunction because I have 2 separate clauses for each. So number 1, I adore playing tennis. The weather is poor. So again, if you think back to our work on subordinating and main clauses, you can see I've got 2 main clauses there because they both make sense. I adore playing tennis. The weather is poor. But I want to link them together, so I'm going to try with each of those conjunctions in my word bank to see which one makes the most sense. I adore playing tennis, however the weather is poor. Maybe. I adore playing tennis, although the weather is poor. Again, maybe does kind of make sense. I adore playing tennis unless the weather is poor. That probably fits. I adore playing tennis until the weather is poor. Now you can see all of those sort of made sense, but to me, I think the one that really fitted was unless. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that in. I adore playing tennis unless the weather is poor. Number 2, Rafe isn't allowed to watch television. He has completed his homework. So let's try again. Rafe isn't allowed to watch television, however, he has completed his homework. Again, sort of makes sense. Rafe isn't allowed to watch television, although he has completed his homework. Again, I'd accept that. Rafe isn't allowed to watch television unless he has completed his homework. That would work. Rafe isn't allowed to watch television until he has completed his homework. Again, all of those kind of works, but I think I'm going to go for until. Rafe isn't allowed to watch television until he has completed his homework. Poor old Rafe, although I have to say I do agree. So again, remember, one conjunction might not always be the one that you want to use. You do have a wide choice there. And lastly, I would go to the party. I think I would prefer a quiet night in. I would go to the party. However, I think I would prefer a quiet night in. Yep. I would go to the party, although I think I would prefer a quiet night in. I would go to the party unless I think I would prefer a quiet night in. I would go to the party until I think I would prefer a quiet night in. I wonder which one you would go for. I think although fits best for me. I would go to the party, although I think I would prefer a quiet night in. So you can see there how all of those conjunctions brought those two clauses together to make one longer, detailed, more flowing sentence. And that just helps our writing to read a bit better. Okay, so now your turn. I have given you a selection of conjunctions there. I have got and, so if, or, which, and because. And then I have got 3 sentences. So I will read them out and I'm going to give you a gap where you are going to say out loud which conjunction you would use. So, my new neighbours are vegetarians. They don't eat meat. My new neighbours are vegetarians. To be more precise, they don't eat beef, pork, chicken. I cooked them a lovely vegetarian meal. They loved. So again, pause the video. Which one would you go for? Play when you are ready, because I think I would go for my new neighbours are vegetarians and they don't eat meat. To be more precise, they don't eat beef, pork or chicken. I cooked them a lovely vegetarian meal, which they loved. Okay, so now here I have my next section of my model text. Remember, this is a story about, or a diary entry, I should say, about somebody at sports day. I wonder if I'm reading, you can spot the conjunctions. A little while later, Mr. Jones called us over to the beanbag toss. I really wasn't interested because I'm totally rubbish at throwing. I grumpily threw the first beanbag at the target when it was my turn. To my surprise, I hit the bullseye twice and was awarded the gold medal. Woohoo! Okay, so again, take a few seconds there to spot the conjunctions. Remember, these are words that will bring 2 shorter sentences or clauses together. Pause the video and then press play when you are ready to go through the answers. Okay, so I spotted because, when, and. Those were the 3 conjunctions that were used to make that diary entry flow a bit better. So now we have our knowledge, or our recap knowledge of conjunctions. We are going to write the next section of our diary, which is very similar to what we did yesterday. Now you are going to write a second event of the day. And remember, we are writing about sports day. So we could think about lots of different activities you could get up to at sports day, whether that's the beanbag toss or javelin throwing or running if you haven't already written about that. Today we're going to be looking at making sure we include conjunctions to really get our writing flowing. And remember, you are all doing such a great job, and you are also having to remember that you are a member of Ark Franklin and you have woken up, just like Bill, as the opposite genders. So try and get that into your writing, otherwise it just reads as a day at sports day. Okay, so I'm going to go through the 3 sections that we are going to write today, and then I'm going to show you how I would write it. So in our text, a little while later, Mr. Jones called us over to the beanbag toss. I really wasn't interested because I'm totally rubbish at throwing. So you've sort of moved the action on a bit there, a little while later, and that's our adverb of time that we did a couple of days ago. So you could think of another one, in the afternoon, after lunch, later that day. And then think of an activity that you could do, whether that's the beanbag toss, javelin. I'm trying to think of all the things you do at sports day now. It's been so long. The sack race, the relay. There's loads of things that you could write about. And then the main event. So here is where you would talk about the event you participate in. So I grumpily threw the first beanbag at the target when it was my turn. So here is when you can describe how you participated in that activity. Maybe you're starting to get really excited. It was time for the big race. The big moment was about to begin. And then you can say how it went. Maybe you're going to have a really great experience with this, or maybe not so much. And then, just like yesterday, how did you feel afterwards? Did you have a positive or negative experience? In our model, to my surprise, I hit the bullseye twice and was awarded the gold medal. Woohoo! So that woohoo, again, quite informal language because it's a diary, and that tells me that he's definitely, or she is definitely feeling very happy about winning that gold medal. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing my screen and switch over to my visualizer so I can show you how I would write. So have I got it up there? Yeah, so I've got my 3 sections. I've got the build up, I've got the main event, and I've got my feelings afterwards. So remember I said with the build up, we want to move the action on a bit from what we wrote yesterday. So we want to go on to the next activity. So I might say, it felt like no time at all had, yeah, you can see that, passed. Past is past tense, so I need ED, and I'm going to use an exclamation mark. Then I'm going to go back and read my sentence just to make sure that I have got everything in order. It felt like, oh God, neither neither. Remember, always important to go back and edit your work. It felt like no I've done it again. Yeah, I bet you guys noticed that before I did. It felt like no time at all had passed. It was time for the javelin throwing. It was now, and I've spelt time before, so I know now to write it with an E on the end. It was now time for the javelin throwing. I think I'm going to go for javelin throwing. I'm sure there's a better way of saying that. Javelin throwing. Okay, it felt like no time at all had passed. It was now time for the javelin throwing. I know we've been looking at conjunctions today. I wonder if there's a conjunction I could use to join these 2 sentences together. It felt like no time at all had passed before it was now time. I'm going to go for and, so I might get rid of this exclamation mark, just do a little star there so I know I want to use the word. It felt like no time at all had passed, and before I'm getting a bit adventurous here, before I knew it. Always okay to go back and edit your work, even if it doesn't look perfect, because that's what good writers do. It felt like no time at all had passed, and before I knew it, it was now time for the javelin throwing. Much better, use that conjunction. So now I've done my build up, I can go into the main event. And remember, there's nothing stopping you from adding in things you did before this week. So if you want to add another show, don't tell, or add a time and manner, absolutely do. So maybe I'm going to carry on a bit with this build-up. I think I'm going to talk a bit about how I felt. I don't think I'm going to be very good at this, so I'm going to say, show, don't tell. My heart sank. My heart sank. I wonder if you can tell me what emotion my character is feeling if my heart sank. My heart sank because, oh, another conjunction, because I'm, apostrophe for contraction there, not the most, what's the word when you're not very good at sports? Athletic. So athletic, C on the end. My heart sank because I'm not the most athletic. So, oh, I've got another one there, another conjunction. I might actually go back and circle the conjunctions I've used. I'm not the most athletic, so I didn't get my hopes up. Okay, so let's go back, and I'm going to get another colour and circle any of my conjunctions that I have used. It felt like no time at all had passed And before I knew it, it was now time for the javelin throwing. My heart sank because I'm not the most athletic, so I didn't get my hops. Oh, phone home, Miss Chowdhury, you didn't either. Hopes up. So I know that I used an and. There's a conjunction. I also used a because and a so. Fantastic. Now I can go on to the main event. So now is when I'm actually throwing the javelin. So I took a deep breath. I took a deep breath and hurled. Much better word than just threw. Hurled means I'm putting a lot of force and energy into it. I took a deep breath and hurled the stick. Remember, stick has both the curly and the kicking cut. Stick. Oh, I wonder if there's an adverb of manner I could use. I'm going to leave a gap there for an adverb of manner because I'm sure I can use one to describe that hurling. I took a deep breath and hurled the stick. To my astonishment, I think I'm going to have a lot of luck today, I think, with this. My character is going to have a great time at sports day. To my astonishment, I know that's one of the words we had in our do now. To my astonishment, it, I want a better word than flew, powerful verb, soared. It soared, again, past tense with the ed. It soared majestically, having fun with this, majestically through the air. Okay, let's read it back and see if we can think of an adverb of manner I could use when I talked about hurling the stick. I took a deep breath and hurled the stick somethingly. Forcefully might be a good one, actually. So I'm going to add in force, soft C, fully. To my astonishment, it soared majestically through the air. Have I used any conjunctions? Oh, and another and there. Now I can talk about how I feel. Now, if it soared majestically through the air, especially because my character didn't think it was going to be a great experience, I'm going to use another show don't tell. How can I show that I was really happy without saying I was happy? Could say I was bouncing with joy, or I had a broad grin on my face. I might say I felt like I was on cloud 9. That means you're the happiest you've ever been. And I might go, way to go me. Again, chatty for my diary. Way to go me, diary. Okay, let's read that all back together and see if I've got everything in. It felt like no time at all had passed, and before I knew it, it was now time for the javelin throwing. My heart sank because I'm not the most athletic, so I didn't get my hopes up. I took a deep breath and hurled the stick forcefully. To my astonishment, it soared majestically through the air. I felt like I was on cloud 9. Way to go me, diary. I might even add a little bit here. Turning into a boy, because remember we swapped gender, turning into a boy wasn't so bad after all. So just like Bill and his new frock, I've made sure to mention my experience of turning into the opposite gender. So I hope that was helpful. Remember, you are looking to add conjunctions today, but if you are wanting to up-level your work by adding in anything else, absolutely do. We're having such a great time reading all of your work. So good luck, and I can't wait to see your ideas on Seesaw.